Whatever, 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 whatever. Can we just acknowledge the shine in these clip-ins right now? Like, honey. I also just got these new earrings. So cute. Press-ons for the win. What's up, brown beauties and baddies, and welcome back to another segment of Life's Perspective. If you guys saw my last two uploads of the Life Perspectives segment of my channel, I'm really impressed with the views that I had gotten, and I am so happy to be able to vulnerably tell you guys where things started for me, and where life kind of just started to make a huge impact on my just self-awareness and self-resilience, perseverance, and just how all these pieces of my life came together to right now. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you guys a number of things, but if you're new here, my name is Africa. I am a licensed cosmetologist, I'm a licensed salon manager, and I'm also a licensed beauty instructor here in the state of Minnesota. I have 3 licenses here, and since I lived here within the past 4 years, I've used 2 of my licenses, and 1 was behind the chair, which is an operator's license. I'm currently using my salon manager's license, and I've also used my instructor's license. I moved here to Minnesota in 2020 from Illinois. The licensing in Illinois and Minnesota for the professional licensing regulations division is totally different. So in order for me to move up in my career, and in order for me to experience all the joys of just elevating in my life, I felt like I needed to go to another state or another city in the thick of the pandemic. And I also mentioned in my last video that was very emotional, trigger warning if you haven't seen it, how I actually moved here and when I moved here and all those kind of things going on. So just a little background update of who I am, what I do, and why I decided to create this channel. My not New Year's resolution, because I feel like that's so corny, but I want to kind of talk about how my New Year's is starting off. So I started my New Year with a Bible. I grew up in Bible study. I was maybe the age of maybe 6 or 7 when my family started to be heavily into religion, and how my life was kind of really bound by religion for a long time before I decided to become a full-blown adult and kind of rebel against the religious practices that my parents had been doing for so many years. They negate all man-made traditions, and they really live by the Bible as if they were Jews or Hebrews themselves, whether Old Testament or New Testament. They literally live their life in the Bible. For a long time, I felt like I didn't have an identity or outside of my family. So a lot of the things that I talked about in my last video, you know, was very, very transpiring from that part of my life. And what got me about getting my Bible this year was that I was ready to let the reins go on who I knew Jesus was from what my parents told me and what that Bible study had taught me, and identify who Christ is to me. And I think that so far, God has really been asking for my obedience for, I would say, blatantly for the past 4 months. I want to say this maybe started in October is when I started to obviously notice that God was asking for my obedience. And you know when they say like old keys don't open new doors, it was kind of like one of those situations where I kind of was constantly bumping my head, as I explained in another video. Also, I was kind of always trying to manifest something, using God as my genie in a bottle, but also feeling the favor of God, but not being necessarily obedient to what Christ was asking of me personally. And I always felt like what was being asked of me was so big that I was always so afraid to do it, but I would always get these moments of feeling inferior in spaces that I was either too big for, and trying to conform to it would just really make the job more frustrating. It would make the job a lot harder. And I said, hey, I'm going to go into this year and into this season with a godly perspective on how I'm living my life and where I plan to see God show up in my life. And I don't mean financially. I don't mean materialistic wise. I don't mean material wise. I just mean wholeheartedly figuring out who God is, what he's done, why did he make Jesus a sacrifice, and what life did Jesus live, and how many of these stories connect to the life that I'm actually living. How can I apply the Bible to my day-to-day life? In having such a religious background and a lot of the man-made traditions, I did not grow up celebrating. So Christmas was something that has been so new to me. This is my third Christmas with Will, and he has made it such an enjoyable experience. Like, I understand that in certain religions, you know, holidays are pagan and things like that, but I think there is a dynamic to these holidays that bring about a lot of just happiness and shared experiences and memories with the people that you love. And you know, I didn't grow up on much tradition that could hold my family to some type of value. And you know, to this day, Willie and I always say that, like, any tradition that we create right now, it is because we created it. It's not because it was some man-made thing. It's not because, you know, because the same way he grew up celebrating Christmas is not even his idea of how he wants to celebrate it anymore. And now that we have, you know, combined our two worlds. But putting up our tree was the most fun thing every single year. Picking it out has been such a blast. We don't even do presents. We just kind of, well, except for that one gift that he got me and this gift that he got me. I got him a few things too. Anyway, we don't even like look forward to gifts or anything like that. We literally just make it an experience for us to just restore, relax, be together. And I wish that growing up I had more of those experiences with my family and things weren't so religiously based around religious practices. And you know, I feel like I wish I would have had more of a moral compass coming into my relationship. There were a lot of things that I had to instill within myself while being in a relationship. And I understand that people want to heal before they get into relationships and not be this extra baggage and this and that and that and this. But honestly, me wearing my heart on my sleeve like that, that is the only way I can love. Like, that is the only way I'm going to know if you can handle me as a person, and if you want to love me the way I'm willing to love you, in the way that, like, you know. And I'm very thankful and I'm so grateful that he was the person that God placed in my life to love me. I have really been through some things and I can laugh about it and smile about it now, but there was a me that was so broken. I also think that the ways I experienced jealousy and envy as a young girl into my teenage and adult life was kind of like a snowball effect, being that I was so isolated from the regular world, being so religious based, and not having these not social experiments, but these social environments to engulf myself in, where I know how to talk to people, I know how to treat people, I know how to properly render information, you know, just those little life key notes that really, really, really made my growth digress a little bit. So for the past, what is now a month probably of training for the new role as a salon manager at a Nevada salon. And this salon, I started at a flagship location. A flagship location, if you don't know, is a company that has multiple locations, but they have like maybe their first starter location, and it's the biggest one out of all the other ones. I started my training at this location, and there were over 60 plus employees, and there were 4 departments, and there were 3 managers on the team to manage each department. And the growth and the expansion of this business has always wowed me. I went to the Aveda Cosmetology School as a beauty student, and I was always blown away by the marketing and the ability for them to transition their students into their businesses as salons and franchise their salon. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, and seeing things grow in such mass majority, I felt like was always such a white person cultural thing that it was hard for me to believe that as a Black woman that I could make such changes, or that I could, you know, attain such wealth. And I think my sense of identity was really bound to Black people having this crab in a barrel mentality, the ways of which that I grew up. I really had a lot of hatred in my heart, and I really had a lot of self-sabotage and jealousy and envy when I saw other Black women who were my peers being well supported by their families and having just like this leg up that seemed like. And I used to really beat myself up about it. And I didn't know how to use Jesus and how to use God as a way to relieve me of my envious and jealous ways. All I knew was these religious practices, which was to remember the Sabbath day and to keep it holy and go to a holy convocation on the 7th day of the week and, you know, go to these yearly feast and, you know, fast as Jesus did. And all those years I never really saw a change in my family's heart. I never saw a change or a heart posture in them that I could then adopt and go about the rest of my life with. I had no kind characteristics, and for a very long time I filled my prayer box up with, Lord, give me characteristics that will sustain my future. And before we moved into this house and when I moved here to Minnesota, I started a prayer box. My sister used to always make prayer boxes, and she got me really hip on doing them. So I created a prayer box, and on the front of that prayer box I had the scripture Matthew 21:21, which describes that whatsoever you ask for in prayer shall be given to you. Lest thee doubt, and like, you know, things like that. Just to get less detail oriented about the actual scripture and word for word, bar for bar. It was pretty much just saying like whatever you pray for, that it should be given to you if you have no doubts in it. If your faith is fully through the roof and you lack no doubt in what you are asking for. I filled that box up with a lot of prayers, and I asked for a lot of things, and I have everything that I have ever put in that box in this very moment. Because the life experiences that I had went through and gone through and witnessed, I think I really removed a part of myself that needed to exist for me to cohabitate in the world that I just wasn't taught. And, you know, looking back at it, it is very scary that for so long of my life, religion was the only thing that was like the focal point in my household. It wasn't like, you know, go to school, go to college. When you get in these jobs, make sure you're this, make sure you're that. These are things that I'm learning as an adult who is almost 30. And you don't really get the aid properly before you step into these roles and before you step into these rooms of how you need to adjust. And, you know, I would also just kind of self-sabotage and walk into spaces and say, this isn't going to work. The moment I got in the door, great opportunities, I would say, oh, this isn't going to last long, and kind of just rip the mat right from under myself and kind of deem myself as not worthy. I was not practicing those ways of how to maintain a regular life while also loving Jesus, while also reading my Bible, while also praying, while also fasting, and still living a day-to-day life that consists of working, paying my bills, obtaining new things without feeling some sense of guilt, without feeling some sense of, I need to be worthy of these things to have them. Not because I deserve them, but I have to do something to show that I'm worthy of these things. And as I've become just more mature in my journey with God, I am able to identify where he wants my obedience now. Before, when I was praying for this level of just peace in my life, peace in my heart, and forgiveness in my heart, I went to therapy in 2022 because I had a lot of scars that needed healing when I started to get into my relationship. And, you know, there was some things that I always just had to come clean about. I had to wear my heart on my sleeve all the time. And that began to get really hard because, you know, I was just so vulnerable so early on. And, you know, most times women want to leave a little mystery to themselves. I truly thank God for my partner, because he is someone who really believed in me from the jump. He has given me so much support and being proud of every little thing that I do. He is always there for every little step that I take. It's very new to me to have this level of awareness that someone could pay this much attention to the details of your growth and to the details of who you're becoming, and listen to who you want to be and see you making those changes, and be able to applaud you when they see you actively making those changes. And I think that growing up in a Black household that came from so much trauma that they never dealt with but used religion to kind of mask their trauma really does take away a lot of it takes away a lot of that love that you need in this world. The world is not always for you. And when I met Willie, when I was in 7th grade, he found me to be the most charming person ever. He found me to be so funny and so outgoing, so beautiful. And then when he saw me again years later, when we started to date, he kind of started seeing my scars a little bit. And it was very compelling to have to tell him in moments why I'm shying away or why I don't feel worthy of this or that. There was actually a time in my relationship where for the holidays, I would really just feel like a completely different person because I had been so estranged from my family that, you know, he would get very excited about the holiday, and I would have literally the worst pit in my stomach about the holiday. And our first year being together, we were both, you know, planning to go home for the holiday because both of our families are in Illinois. And I had no desire to go, and he was very disappointed. He was so full of joy wanting to make this experience with me, and my gut just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to go back into a situation that left me so traumatized. And I was also afraid to tell him all the things that had happened to me and why I didn't want to go back. There were moments in my relationship of not feeling compatible because the traumas that I went through overtook the entire relationship, where he didn't have much to share with me because we didn't have the same experiences. And while at the time I thought it was a problem, since we have grown so much from these instances, we've really been able to watch each other grow. Really just been able to connect in such a different way. And I saw a post on Instagram that said every woman deserves to have a single season and to live by herself and, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I couldn't agree more with that statement, but for me, it was a little different. If I did not have my partner in my life, I don't feel like I would have been the woman that I am today. He really helped me look at life different. He became such a light to my dark tunnel that all I could see was me getting better just because he just carried such a beautiful, weightless life. And he just saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. And I think any man with that kind of patience is literally God sent. And I'm not here to tell y'all how to date. This is not a dating reality checklist or something of that nature. But just for me personally, my relationship has been a sole factor in my growth. If someone is willing to be in your life to love, support, and be with you, you owe it to them to be honest about who you are and how your life experiences have either changed you, have either, hurt you in some way. So, you don't have these unknowing, or your partner doesn't have these unknowing triggers that can just disrupt your growth pattern. There were moments where we would run into moments like that, and it was a tough conversation to have every single time. But by the grace of God, with a lot of prayer, with a lot of journaling, and just comforting each other, we really have created this lovely dynamic. And I think in this generation, in this day and age, it's hard for people to want to be vulnerable because they really detach themselves from their hurt. They detach themselves from their trauma, and they try to become these perfect, put together people, and not realizing that it's okay to not be like completely detached from your traumas. So I ended up going to therapy, and I essentially just wanted to be better for my relationship. I didn't want to have to throw all of my baggage onto him and have him to figure out if I'm the right woman for him. And we've had our moments where things were literally so scary because he knew a lot of my truth, and he couldn't unsee what he heard I went through, and it was very traumatizing for him also. So I think it's great that I ended up finding Jesus and finding God and letting him be the center of my growth and of my peace, because there was so much trauma that I had inside of me that trying to grow on my own was just not working out. Like, it wasn't working out. I was smoking weed. I would go on long walks and like leave my phone. I had no sense of self-worth to be able to protect myself. I would literally alienate myself. I would just isolate myself for hours, days, weeks, and just have all this anxiety built up inside of me about these people that I came from, and not wanting to have any characteristics from that, wanting to truly find my identity in Christ and within myself to be like a different person. Me and two of my siblings have very Afrocentric names. And my parents gave us these very powerful names that they, if I'm being completely honest, did not pour into. They gave us these very powerful, rich in every sense of what they did as leaders, not only riches, but as leaders. And I think that as we continue to grow older, they really ripped us from the people that we could have been, that they named us after. And for a long time, I really hated my name because it was just too much. People just would react the way people reacted when I told them what my name was, or just the conversation pieces around it, being made fun of as a young girl, was a lot for me. And I think now I'm starting to really, or maybe even a few years back, I've really started to just stand in my power of my name. And I used to try to avoid like white spaces, thinking that my name would be too much. It would be too overpowering. No one would want to call me by my name. And, I've just learned that these little moments where the case of the FUD kicks in, which is fear, uncertainty, and disappointment, creep in, and use it as a way to really connect with God, to replace all those things with courage, and to really help me to differentiate the FUD from who I actually am, and from my family as well. My sense of identity could not be bound to these things any longer. And I'm so happy to be able to share with the world that it's okay to have some type of trauma coming up, and it's okay that you may not be able to see yourself on the other side just yet. You will begin to see yourself peel off old layers and create new ones of just joy, peace, beauty, and understanding. And I think that along the way, that my life wasn't always picture perfect. It was always something that I needed God for. And I often used to feel a little bit of church hurt and resentment because I would see people who weren't walking a godly path at all whatsoever live these glorious lives, and there was never an answer for why they were being so blessed or why they seemed to be living such amazing lives. But over time, I just kind of realized that my life is my own and my relationship with God is my own. I'm just excited for what 2024 has with this new walk of obedience with Christ, reading my Bible in my spare time, and just kind of letting go of my expectation of what I think my life should look like and what I think my life should be. Because anytime that I've had an expectation on where I should be by this time or by this age, it always seems to lead me to some other kind of distraction of just not being happy. And I think that the way God has panned out this new job for me that I did not seek, it kind of fell in my lap. I wasn't looking for this job. I kind of feel like it found me in a way. I feel like the brink of my walk with God, because I'm literally asking him to make my crooked path straight. I no longer want to strive for things anymore. I don't want to hope and wish for these things that I don't have the capacity to hold on to. Lord, give me the capacity to hold on to the things that you give me, not the things that I feel like are for me, just for my own sake of wanting it. And I think that in this new space and in this new role of being a salon manager, I'm managing less people at a new location. So my training began at a flagship with 60 plus employees. The location that I manage just by myself has 9 employees, and it's a lot smaller of a space, and I'm able to connect with these girls in a way that I never thought I would connect with them. I have this level of authority and respect that I don't want to abuse, that I don't want to have some type of power trip over, but really just being as professional as possible and being there for them has been such a beautiful experience. My heart posture is so much more willing to experience this kind of thing that I'm just so grateful and I'm so happy. And it's allowing me to kind of use my credentials to help other salon owners build their employees, and it makes me want to be able to step into my culture with structure and with vigility to help them elevate their businesses, help them elevate their employees, and give them something to help bring in new talent and to help curate a plan for how they're going to keep their new talent engaged and encouraged and all those things. I think that my purpose in this has been very profound within the last maybe year or so. I just hope to be a Black powerful woman at the end of these endeavors and be able to share so much information, write a book, help millions of people, and obviously be living a luxurious life of traveling and eating great and having these life-defining monumental experiences in different places of the world, Lord. Like, I'm just so excited for 2024. Like, may this Bible really open up my whole world of just life, love, abundance, like power, respect. Like, I am just ready to dig deep, so deep into my obedience. I'm already starting to become just more of a philosophical thinker, and I haven't been on Instagram in months, only for special occasions. So I got on there for Christmas. I got on for last weekend when my friend was in town, but I do not keep Instagram on my phone. I don't have the time for it. I don't have the mental capacity for it any longer. I think YouTube has really become such a better space for me that, Instagram just, I don't know when I'll ever be able to give it the attention that it needs. We are almost at 500 subscribers. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I would really greatly appreciate it. As I grow this new segment of my channel, I would love to hear your guys' feedback. Follow me on Instagram at BrownBeauty.store. Also, shop the Brown Beauty clip-in extensions. The website will be up this spring as we relaunch. Hope you guys enjoyed this sit down life perspective segment with me. It's your girl AB. This is Brown Beauty TV. Thanks for rocking with me. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.